Okay, so my name is Khulud Al-Atiyat, and I work at the Salama bint Hamdan Al Nahyan Foundation, who's the organizer of this event this morning. Now we have one more school coming in, but we will get started and they can join us as soon as they get here. So who's excited for being here today? Raise your hands. Who's even more excited because they're not in class this morning? Exactly, I was sure everyone would raise their hands for that. Dubai, you're one of them too? That's amazing. So basically this morning, we have this event that's called Muntada. And Muntada is a place where we bring great speakers, usually from different parts of the world. We try and have some speakers from the UAE as well. But this Muntada this morning is a very, very special one. Because all of the speakers, all 5 amazing speakers, are from the UAE. Some are UAE nationals, and some are people who were born and raised in the UAE. So you're really in for a treat. It's worth not being in class for this event this morning. So the list of speakers that we have, we're really, really honored to have them. We have 5 speakers. You might have heard about some of them. When I say their name, if you can raise your hand if you've ever heard of this name before. So one of the speakers is Muqeet Abdul Mannan. The other speaker is Adeeb Al Balooshi, and I know that his class is here to support him as well. Thank you. The next speaker we have is Cameron Oliver. Nice. Cameron, you've got supporters here as well. We also have Adeeb Al Balooshi, who is an amazing author. That's great. And we also have Hamda Al Banna, who is a very, very brave girl, and trust me, you'll be amazed by her story. So I don't want to keep you guys waiting anymore because you've already waited for a very long time, but I want to let you know that if you have any questions to ask the speakers, you can ask them questions, but I please ask you that you wait until the end of the presentation. We will have all 5 of them sitting up here, and we will have microphones, and you can raise your hand and ask them the questions at the end of all 5 presentations. So for now, let me introduce to you our first amazing speaker for this morning. His name is Muqeet Abdul Mannan. He is known for his campaign against the use of plastic bags. He does not like to use plastic at all. And in fact, he asked me to not use a plastic water bottle for him when he's sitting there. He has his own water bottle. He's really against the use of plastic. Welcome. So he has conducted a lot of workshops around the UAE, more than 110 workshops around the UAE in different shopping malls, in different colleges, and schools, and government departments. And he has also received the very, very distinguished prize of Abu Dhabi Awards in 2011. So are you guys ready to listen to Abdul Mannan? Muqeet Abdul Mannan, you ready? Okay, Abdul Muqeet, the stage is yours.
Hello. Hi everyone, and assalamu alaikum to everyone present here. My name is Abdul Muqeet. I am 12 years old, also known as the paperback boy. I study in 7th grade Abu Dhabi Indian School, and I started a campaign against the use of plastic bags. I would also like to thank the Sheikha Salama bint Hamdan Foundation for inviting me here today and speaking in front of you all. First of all, I would like to thank the generous and visionary leaders of the UAE. His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the UAE and ruler of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, ruler of Dubai and Prime Minister of the UAE, and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of the Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, for their kindness, support, and interest towards saving nature. People ask me that how do I start my campaign? 4 years back in 2010, on 4th February, it just happened that my school principal announced that we will be celebrating a no plastic day. So I came to my house and I asked my mom that why we should not use the plastic bags. She told me the harms of plastic bags, and I thought that if the plastic bags harm the environment a lot, Why are we even using it? So I decided to stop the usage of plastic bags and spread awareness in my community. This is how I started. Also, I'm very happy that I started my campaign on the UAE Environment Day. And I also wanted that on the UAE Environment Day, all the 3 groceries in my local area should not use the plastic bags. So I made 150 bags and gave each grocery 50 bags. And I persuaded them not to use the plastic bags. Climate change is a reality, a challenge. We all people should accept this challenge. And if we accept it, we should act. 7 billion people and one challenge of saving environment. Can't we solve it? Yes, together we can. As our president, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, has said that saving the environment is not the responsibility of the government alone. This is the duty of everyone. I have started a campaign against the usage of plastic bags because plastic bags harm the environment a lot in many ways. And it is also the topmost cause of pollution today. It takes 450 to 1,000 years to decompose. Many animals die due to indigestible plastic bags. And you will also be shocked to know that 1 million sea creatures die due to indigestible plastic bags per year. Also, when the sunlight falls on the plastic bag produces harmful gases which hurt the environment and the earth. Due to this, the pollution, global warming, and the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases. The safe limit of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 350 ppm. ppm means parts per million. At present, it is 395 ppm and it is growing day by day. Now, I would like to share some solutions we all can do to save nature. When you go for shopping, don't forget to take your eco-friendly bag. Say no to plastic bags. Also, avoid the usage of plastic bottles. Use eco-friendly bottles. And dispose of plastic in the right place. Just don't dispose it here and there. I make my own bags from newspaper, and I make many types of envelopes and many types of toys. I spread awareness in the community of reducing the usage of plastic bag because awareness is the key. The more people know, the more they act on it. When I make my paper bags, I give it to my local bookshop and the groceries in my area and tell them not to use the plastic bags. I conduct live workshops in which I show them how to make my bags, and if you want to see one workshop, you can come over there and visit me. And I have conducted more than 120 workshops internationally, including Indonesia, United States of America, and in India. In the starting of my campaign, I had a lot of challenges. Many people used to say that, you make paper bags, so what? I just used to ignore them and I still continued my campaign. As an impact of my campaign, many organizations, companies, children are using paper bags instead of plastic bags. Also, during my campaign, my support were my full family members, my grocer, and the local grocery shops. People ask me, how do I manage my time with playing, studying, and doing my campaign? After I come from school at 5 p.m., I eat my food and I watch TV. Then I pray. Then I do my homework and I play football. Also, I am a very active member of the Manchester City Football School. Then I have time between 7:30 to 8:30. In this time, I make my paper bags. My hobbies are to play football, play Xbox, and read books and spend time with my family. My favorite football team is Manchester City, and I also like Yaya Toure because his specialty and my specialty are same because we do long shots, and also he plays and my plays are same like Sunday defensive midfield. My initiative has grown internationally, and I am very sure that plastic will be completely banned all around the world. I also hope that many more people will start recycling paper and other materials more and more. I want to give a message to you all. Plant more trees, use less water, do more recycling, and do not use the plastic bags. And remember, everything on this earth can be recycled, but not time. So take action fast before time runs out. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Abdul Muqeet. How many of you here use plastic bags now? How many of you, hopefully, will not use plastic bags after this talk? So, what I encourage you all to do is after we're done with the workshop today, go and see Abdul Muqeet. He has an amazing display with his paper bags. He can show you how he makes them. It's very simple. He uses newspapers, which is available in everyone's house. So you can make your own paper bags and use them. And they're quite good, actually. They can hold a lot of things in them. So that was Abdul Muqeet. Thank you so much again. One more round of applause for Abdul Muqeet. Thank you. Our next speaker is a very amazing and talented young man. His name is Adeeb Al Balooshi. He is only 10 years old. Who's 10 years old here? Who's younger? Less than 10. Everyone else is older than 10 years old, I guess, who did not raise their hands. So Adeeb, at 10 years old, he just turned 10, by the way, in January. Happy birthday. He is a young Emirati inventor and a scientist. He already has at home more than 100 certificates. So I don't know how many walls you have at home, Adeeb, but you must have a lot of walls to hang your certificates on them. He has more than 100 certificates, and he has been to so many conferences around the world to talk about his inventions. I don't want to talk about his inventions because he does it so much better. I want him to come up on the stage here and tell you more about what does he invent and what kind of scientist is he. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Adeeb Al Balooshi. I'm from United Arab Emirates, 10 years old, year 5 at James Wellington International School, Dubai. And I'm also known as the Emiratis' youngest scientist and inventor. I'm proudly the ambassador of Emirates Identity Authority. I'd like to share with you a couple of stories that changed my life. They were the path to my success of being an inventor. When I was in my mother's womb, all the doctors said that I will be born deformed. My mother had toxoplasma. It's an infection humans get from cats. My mother was around cats quite a lot, so she may have catched the infection. But one doctor named Klaus Pup in Germany asked the question, why? Why can't I be normal? So he took my mom's blood, he did some blood tests, examined my mother's blood carefully, and he said, you have no problem. Take some medication and your baby will be fine. My mother was shocked and she said, how? And all the doctors said no. He said, from your blood tests, we found out that toxoplasma existed before pregnancy and not during. That means you're all normal now and your baby will be fine. My mother told me that this doctor had great zest in learning and asked the question why. Because he asked why, I'm here today to tell everyone about the power of asking why. So, ask why, think, search, find proof, take it. So we learn when we ask why. It's a cycle. My father was working with polio. One day he brought us to the beach and he took out his medical apparatus. So I told him, why'd you do it? He said, because if I went in the water with it, it'll break and I won't be able to walk. So I thought, I was scared. What happens if he stepped on glass or a deadly fish? And I also asked myself, why is there no waterproof medical apparatus available? From that very day, I decided with me to become an inventor. Luckily, my father introduced me to a doctor, Dr. Yohannes. He's an orthopedics doctor. So I asked him, how do we make the medical apparatus? He says, we make it out of jibs. So I said, jibs, that very unhealthy material that's harmful for the environment? He said, yeah, that's the one. So I went around his workshop and I found this type of medical wax. So I said, can we use this on the medical apparatus? He says, yeah, I guess we can. So we worked on this project, and sometime later after we were done, these were the results. It was waterproof, it was light, it was good for the environment, reusable, and when you take an x-ray, most of the doctors know that if you have jibs, it won't be clear at all. So you have to cut out the jibs with a laser. That's why I tried to use this medical wax. And well, you may be thinking, one way or another, it's gonna melt. Well, we made an improvement that it only melts on 300 degrees Celsius. Believe me, people, it's a wonderful gift from nature and brings lots of hope to the disabled ones. Okay, one day my mom was cleaning under the couch with very hard difficulty, so I told her, you can go rest. Meanwhile, I'll do the job for you. So I actually didn't do that. I actually decided to make a robot that can do the job for me and her. I used battery containers, batteries, a brush, and I used vibrating engine. Well, since it's not that big, I'm guessing it's a vibrating motor, so I'm not that sure. And well, before I would have finished it and started testing it, well, I thought, why does everything have, all the inventions have to be like black, like cars all black when they started and everything. So I may or may not have added color and feather, may or may not. And then I tested it out, it worked, so I just continued watching TV. My mother woke up, she said, what's that noise? I said, well, I made a robot that can do the job for me and you, so I don't have to clean, so we don't have to clean anymore. She looked under the couch, she stared at me, then she was really proud of me. So, there's another story as well. One day I was in a car with my dad, and my dad asked me, we always have these like questions and challenges to see who's smarter and who's, well, yeah, to see if I'm smart enough to answer them. So he asked me, what if one day I was in this car and I died, I fainted or something? You had no cell service, you're in the middle of a desert, for example, and no one near you. What would you do? I came back to him to that. I said, well, I'd make a medical seatbelt that has GPS. It can track the activity of your heart. So if it's going too slow or too fast, they'll give you a warning. And if you faint or die, they'll send a message to the police. They'll send a message to the ambulance, and they send a message to your family and house. And using the GPS tracker that's on the seatbelt, they can track you down and they'll find your exact location to come get you. So this idea is still under development. I haven't finished it yet. That's why I don't want to give too much of it away. Another idea, it's a smart helmet for the firefighters. Now, the firefighters, just to clarify something, I really respect firefighters because firefighters, you can't just go to any firefighter and say, hey dude, can I have a job? You can't do that. You have to go through training, months. You have to be willing to risk your life to go in the fire to save people. You may be like cooking and say, that hurt. Well, these people literally run through fire. And plus, even though it's just a little kitten, they would go get it. So I really respect them. Also, the idea. I heard about a firefighter who died and I didn't like his death. So I asked myself, why did no one get him to get him? How did he die? What, did the people die? What happened? So I don't want that to happen anymore, so I created a smart helmet for the firefighters. Now this helmet has features of a camera, night vision camera, everything can be seen through operation room, and there's a live chatting system that can tell them where to go. Now, it's also fireproof, but the operation room, they can see what's going on. So if anything gets too smoky, too much smoke, you can't see anything, the operation room will turn their camera into night vision and they'll tell them, using the live chatting system, where to go. This idea is also still under development. I don't want to give too much of it away. I still need to work on it. I'm still working on it. Let me conclude now. My humble request to all is that the knowledge of invention and science should be used for helping humanity and not for the destruction of this beautiful world we dwell in. Remember, the most important thing is that you never, ever, ever give up. Thanks.
Amazing. Yes. So what is the one question that Adeeb wants everyone to start asking? Why? Everyone has to start asking why. Anything that you encounter in life, any problem you face, you ask why, and then you find the solution from it. Do we all agree? Awesome. So our next speaker that we have is someone who is known as the Camel Boy. And I was quite intrigued when I heard that he's known as the Camel Boy. Why is this person the Camel Boy? What did he do that people now label him as the Camel Boy or the Camel Savior? Those are the two names that he is known by. Well, this person started an awareness to save camels back in 2008. Because camels are dying in the desert. 1 in every 2 camels die every day. And he will tell you why are they dying, what's happening to them, and how can we help save our camels in the desert. So without any further ado, please welcome Cameron Oliver.
With my inspiration, Dr. Uli Vernay, who is the scientific director and expert in the CVRL in Dubai, who operates and does research on our dead camels. So that day, I knew I had to make a difference. So my campaign was born. My campaign is about creating awareness to what we are doing to our camels in the desert. Now, she already said it, but did you know that every day, 1 in every 2 camels are dying in the desert from our litter and plastic bags? And what started out as a school project became a national and international recognized awareness project. The campaign has its own website and supporting material like t-shirts, caps, and bumper stickers. Also, another scary thought, did you know that every piece of plastic that was ever made still exists in the world today? Now, plastic bags are blown into the desert by wind. Litter such as plastic bags, ropes, cans, and other rubbish are also left by people going into the desert. These plastic bags and litter are eaten by our camels, thinking it's food. Now, they don't know any better. The plastic bags and litter calcify in our camel's stomach, and this can sometimes weigh up to 60 kilograms. The camels think their stomachs are full of food. Meanwhile, it's full of calcified litter. Then they die the slow, painful death from starvation. This is what we are doing to our camels from plastic bags and our litter. We're just killing them. Now, I don't know how this works, but okay, yeah. The picture over here is plastic bags on a shrub. Now, camels generally eat from a shrub. So when the camel eats that, they'll probably eat the plastic bags, and that'll go into their stomach and it'll calcify. Now, this picture here is litter scattered around the desert. Now, this was probably left by people going into the desert or blown in from various areas of the UAE. The picture over here is litter scattered around a camel, and as you can see, the camel's already starting to eat the litter in the plastic bags. This picture over here is the same picture with litter scattered around the camels and plastic bags, and you can see that this one's also started eating the plastic bags and litter. Now, the picture over here is a camel already dead from eating the plastic bags and litter, and you can see that there's already plastic and litter scattered around the camel as well. This is probably the best photo in my opinion. It shows the 2 processes that happen to a camel. Now, the litter, as you can see, is already scattered around, but the camel that the red light is on has already died from eating the plastic bags and litter. And then the camel here is going to die because you can see he's already eating the plastic bags and litter. The photo over here is like calcified litter from inside a camel's stomach, removed from a dead camel by Dr. Uli Vernay. Now, this probably only weighs up to 20 kilograms, and that's with ropes and cans all stuck into it. And I actually have the real thing right here. This is with everything removed, okay? This is only about 15 kilograms. This is all the stuff that's inside a camel's stomach. It's actually very heavy. Okay, and this picture over here is already a camel dead. Now, all that's left is the bones, and you can see the calcified litter. Now, look at the size of that calcified litter compared to the size of the camel. It's absolutely huge. And through my campaign, I've faced 2 really main challenges. One is finding sponsorship for my campaign, because right now, my campaign is being sponsored by my parents. They've always sponsored it throughout the whole campaign. But I have received donations from AmCham and various organizations around the UAE. I've also received donations from schools, which I'm very, very grateful for. The second is keeping a promise. Now, when I went to the Abu Dhabi Awards and won the Abu Dhabi Awards, I made a promise to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, that I would not stop until the camel stopped dying. Now, right now, I'm struggling keeping that promise because I'm trying to balance my studies, my swimming, and my campaign. Because every day, I would do 4 hours of swimming training, plus 6 hours of school, and then I've also got to do homework as well as school other activities because of GCSEs. Now, I'm trying to balance it out, but nevertheless, I will not stop until the camel stops dying, and I'll always continue my campaign. The support I've been getting is mainly from my parents, because they're my biggest support. They've always helped me with my campaign. They haven't just also helped me with my campaign, they've helped me through life. Everything that I pretty much do now is because of them. The media has been a huge support. Now, I've been featured in newspapers, magazines, books, radios. I've also gone on TV coverage around the world, from China to Brazil, and I do know this because I've received loads of emails from them. And this was done by Reuters TV and BBC World. Now, that was the best experience ever. And not only have I won the Abu Dhabi Award, I've also gotten first place in the Young International Eco Heroes Award based in USA in 2009. Just before I go, I'd like to leave two very important messages. Okay, one is what my dad told me. Now, every river starts with one drop of water. As you can see there, make a difference no matter how small you think it is. That means say you have something you're very passionate about, okay, and you don't think it's at all good at, but you never know, it could be the next huge thing out there. And a second message is from the camels themselves. Please stop killing me, don't litter. And before I leave, I do have a message from me. I want my children to see camels live, not read about them in books. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Now I want to ask everyone a question. How many of you go out to the desert with your families? Okay, that's a lot, especially now during this amazing weather. How many of you leave litter behind? And be honest. Okay, maybe a few honest people here. I want you all to make a promise. Can you promise me something? Yes? Okay. When you go to the desert with your family, before you leave, make sure that you pick up every piece of plastic. Make sure that you pick up the litter, take it into the city with you, and then drop it in a dumpster or in a recycling bin, which would be the best thing to do. Can everyone promise me to do that? Yes? Thank you so much. So now we'll move on to our next speaker. Who here likes to read books? Okay. You will have one more book on your reading list after the speaker is done, if you haven't read her book already. The speaker's name is Dubai Abul. She is officially the youngest Middle East film director. She was a film director when she was only 11 years old. She directed her first film. And she is also the author of an amazing Emirati fantasy novel called Galagolia. Now, I will introduce Dubai and let her talk about her film, passion, and her book. So without any further ado, Dubai Abul.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the amazing introduction. But I want you to disregard everything she just said, and I want you to go back in time with me to a time when I was 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, I had a dream, and it is to be the first Emirati to win an Oscar. Now, when I went up to my family and I told them that, oh, hi, I want to be the first Emirati to win an Oscar, it took them a long time to convince me that an Oscar isn't something you can find at a local toy store. That it was going to take a lot of time to actually, produce a movie and, to get nominated, and there was no, Gulf/Emirati, movie to even reach that kind of level of success. And still, I was very confused. I'm like, why? If people are actually out there winning Oscars, why can't I do it? And I was 8 years old, and I got frustrated. So, and then they're like, okay, fine. You still don't have the idea for your movie. I'm like, okay, great. I'm just gonna take a few years to brainstorm, and then I'll win an Oscar. When I was 11 years old, I got even more excited. I'm like, okay, I need to seriously start brainstorming and to find an idea for my Oscar-winning movie. So when I was 11 years old, any Harry Potter fans? Okay, good. So you'd understand what I'm about to say. So I was watching the 5th, I think, Harry Potter movie, and this is so embarrassing, but I was sort of imitating the Death Eater's voices. And as I was doing that, it hit me. I saw a green skeletal man in the back of my head. I didn't know who that man was. I was just very enthusiastic about the idea. And so I went to my parents, I'm like, hey, this green skeletal man is actually gonna make me win an Oscar. And I think they forgot about the dream and they're like, come on, like, just, really? And I'm like, yeah, I really want to win an Oscar. And I remember my father emphasizing the fact that I should write it down. I didn't understand why. It's not like I was going to forget the idea, but my father literally insisted on the fact that I write the idea down. And so I did, and that started a very interesting chain of events. So when I was 11 years old, I was in 7th grade, and literally all I did in class was sit in the back of the classroom and write. And my math teacher came up to me. I think she was very confused on why I wasn't paying attention in class. And so she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm writing my script for my Oscar-winning movie, of course. And then she's like, but you have a quiz next week. I'm like, yeah, but I'm winning an Oscar next year. And I think, she looked at me like blankly, like, what is this girl saying? And so she took my notebook away from me, and I'm sorry. And she took it to the principal's office. And I was very confused, I understand the importance of education, and I knew that for a fact that I should not have been writing in class, but I wondered why, schools in general didn't prepare students for thinking big and for thinking outside the box, even though that's what they preach. And I went to my principal, I'm like, this is my script. Are you seriously taking away my Oscar dream? And obviously she gave my notebook back. And I kept on writing. And every single time my math teacher passed by, she would just smile and continue walking away. And I was very confused because here I was like in a position where should I write my script or should I pay attention? And it always confused me why educational systems, no matter what kind of system it is, puts full impact on grades and doesn't pay that much attention to dreams and ambitions. And that I was left in a point where I had to not choose, but definitely try to balance. And so as I was writing, I reached around 80 pages. And after that, I'm like, you know what? This can be turned into a book. I already have 80 pages, and I'm going to win an Oscar. This might as well be a book. And so I went back to page 1. I removed the cheesy Once Upon a Time, and I started actually writing it in a novel form. And then my other math teacher, which was probably around 8th grade, came up to me. I have no idea what's wrong with me and math teachers, but that's what happened. And, she tried to stop me, and I was just very frustrated. Here I am trying to make my dream a reality, and then, education systems are trying to stop me. And I'm like, I'm just trying to think outside the box. So at the same time, I heard about the Gulf Film Festival, the first Gulf Film Festival, and, I checked. And I checked the rules and regulations, and there was an age limit, which I purposely ignored. And I started, what I did was I animated one chapter from the book I was writing. And I animated it into like a 10-minute film, and I sent it off without, I'm like, you know what, I'm 11 years old, but this is a movie I made, and it's a part of a book that will, one day be an Oscar-winning movie. And I just completely forgot about the submission, and a few months later, they contact me and say, yeah, your short film, your directed film is actually accepted in the Gulf Film Festival. And for a split second, I actually forgot about it, because I never knew they would even reply. So I was very excited. It was my first, red carpet event, and my movie was being screened in the Gulf Film Festival, and it was very exciting. And that gave me motivation to continue writing the book and continue writing the script. And in the Gulf Film Festival, I was, named the Middle East's youngest filmmaker. And I went on to 2009 to be the youngest TEDx speaker at TEDx Dubai. And it was very similar to what I'm doing right now, but the only difference was At that time, when I was 13, I had nothing to back up what I was saying. So I was literally on stage saying, yeah, you know, one day I want to do this, and one day I want to do that, and I got a really positive feedback. But at that time, I didn't know that, you know, my life would unfold to actually show me that my dreams did, in fact, become a reality. So it's very weird looking at that video and then looking at myself now thinking, oh, did I just predict what happened to my life? And so then after TEDx Dubai and after the Gulf Festival, I continued writing my book. I finished writing 400 pages when I was 13 years old. And I started contacting publishers, and I've contacted around 10 publishers, and I realized that the biggest mistake I did was mention my age in the emails, because literally no one replied back. And then one day I framed my own father, which I deeply apologized to later on. I sent an email saying, oh, you know, hi, my name is Abdul, and, you know, my daughter, which I didn't mention her age, wants to publish a book, so can we come into a meeting? And then, you know, I think a month later, or 2 months later, they contacted my father, which is me, and they're like, okay, you know, we want you to come into a meeting. And so I had to go to my father to explain to him that he has a meeting with publishers he doesn't even know. And, you know, he was very surprised. He was very supportive. He laughed at some point, I assure you. But yeah, I showed up at my publishers. And in 2012, I released my novel, which is called Galagolia, during the 2012 Emirates Literature Festival. And yeah, thank you. And I was named the youngest published author. And here in the photo is my editor. So, you know, when they actually found out that, you know, this is a 13-year-old framing her father, my editor, who is in the photo, actually said that, no, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to work with a teenager. She's probably going to, you know, quit on me last minute. And then after I had a meeting with her and she saw, like, how passionate I was about my book and about, like, making my dreams a reality, she actually agreed to be my editor. So the top photo is how the book looked like when I was writing it during math class. And this is me in my book signing a few years later. So I think looking back, you see those post-it notes? So as I was writing chapters, I was confused on what to name certain characters. And so I would pass around post-it notes to my friends and they would write, you know, name recommendations. So I think it was a very fun collaborative process with the rest of my friends. So remember the movie Dream? Yeah. So a year later, like a year and a half later after being published, I was called by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed's office to give a presentation about my book. And, you know, I was completely excited. I skipped class like most of you are right now, and that wasn't even half of the excitement part. And, you know, I went there, I literally just got a few copies of my book and, you know, said my story. And, you know, they were very supportive, and, you know, the meeting was over. Right before the meeting, I was talking to Sheikh Mohammed. He was asking a few questions, and his son Sheikh Hamdan was there, and, you know, we were talking about, like, possibilities of how to, you know, incorporate these books into educational systems. And Sheikh Hamdan suddenly was like, oh, you know, this can be turned into a movie. I'm like, yeah, I want to turn it into a movie, and it's going to one day win an Oscar. He's like, yeah, but now. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. You know, you can do that if you want. And the second day, it was announced that the book is in fact going to be turned into a movie, and it's currently in its early production stages. So for the past year, a year and a half after the movie announcement, I went on to speak with the Minister of Education about, you know, just enhancing creativity in educational systems, and I told him how, you know, my struggle with balancing, you know, thinking big and dreaming big with actually, you know, with my work. And, you know, he was very supportive, and I really thank him for that. And, you know, they're going to incorporate my book into educational systems, which is great. I also got invited to a session to, you know, also discuss the possibility of, you know, incorporating more creative ventures into educational systems. I also went on to do different political debate conferences. This was in front of the United Nations in New York City. And I think what I'm trying to say here is your schoolwork is very important, just as your dreams. So what I'm trying to say is success doesn't have a deadline. You don't have to graduate to start doing what you love. Because, you know, if that was the case, then, you know, most, if not all, of what I've been doing would never have been achieved. So always set time for who you are. Always, if you get one bad grade in an exam, that doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you need to discover what you're good at and what you're passionate about. And always remember that your dreams are just as important as your A+. And I'm very excited for some of you to be on the stage sometime next year. So thank you so much.
So following up on what Dubai just said, how many of you hope to be on such a stage one day? And do you all have dreams that you want to achieve? Yes. So the most important thing is that never, ever, ever give up, going back to what Adeeb say, and your A+ are as important as your dreams. So you can work on both and make it happen, make your dreams a reality. And now we have someone who also made her dream a reality. She worked very hard in order to achieve that dream. To me, she is someone who is very courageous and brave, honestly, and has a very high tolerance for cold weather, because the place she went to and the place she stayed at is not a typical place. It's not just like back home in our backyards. The next speaker is Hamda Al Banna. She is the youngest Emirati to reach the South Pole. She is an adventurer by nature, and she was able, as I said, to turn her dream into a reality. So please welcome to the stage Hamda Al Banna to tell you her story.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين. طبعا أول شيء التوفيق، أن التوفيق كله بيد الله تعالى وحده. وقبل أن أبدأ في سرد المغامرة أحب أن أعرفكم على نفسي. أنا الطالبة حمدة حسين البنا في الصف الثاني عشر من مدرسة الأميرة هيا بنت الحسين في الصف الثاني عشر. أوكي. طبعا أنا طالبة علمية، وايد أحب الكتب وأعشق القراءة، مهتمة جدا بمجال الصحة والتغذية السليمة. لدي طبعا أفضل أم وأب في العالم بلا منازع، والرقم 1 يمثلني. رحلتنا اليوم إلى حافة الأرض المتجمدة. كيف بدأت هذه الرحلة؟ حين كنت في الصف العاشر سمعت عن دانا الحمادي، أتوقع سمعت عنها، أنها أول إماراتية وصلت للقارة الجنوبية، ومن بعدها ريم الجنيبي وميثة الكعبي من معهد مصدر. أيضا أنا مشاركة في برنامج حمدان بن محمد للتطوير الشخصي. ففي الصف 11 طلب مني الاتيان بمشروع على مستوى نوعا ما، فاتخذت قرارا على الفور أن هذه هي المغامرة التي أطمح إليها. فكخطوة أولى تواصل والدي مع شركة 2041 وأخبروه عن خطة سير الرحلة وعن المعدات والمبلغ. بالنسبة للمبلغ، المبلغ كان كبيرا نوعا ما، وفي الحقيقة واجهت صعوبة بالغة في إيجاد دعم لي، وحاولت ولكن لم أجد دعم. تولت الشركة مصاريفي وقد أخجلوني صراحة، وأبي ذهب بتمويله الشخصي. تحتم علينا مغادرة إمارة دبي في 27 فبراير. من دبي انطلقنا إلى مدينة قطر، طبعا على متن الخطوط الجوية القطرية. من قطر توجهنا إلى ساو باولو في البرازيل، قرابة 15 ساعة من البرازيل إلى عاصمة الأرجنتين بوينس آيرس. من بوينس آيرس إلى أقصى جنوب أمريكا اللاتينية. أقصى الجنوب تقع مدينة أشوايا. الحمد لله وصلنا بالسلامة لأشوايا في تاريخ 28 فبراير. استقبلنا البروفيسور روبرت سوان. طبعا البروفيسور روبرت سوان هو مدير مؤسسة 2041، وهو أول إنسان تطأ قدمه القضبان، وأعني القضبان. وأريد أن أوضح نقطة صغيرة. أنا لم أصل للقطب الجنوبي لأن القطب الجنوبي عبارة عن نقطة، ولكنني وصلت إلى القارة الجنوبية أنتاركتيكا. قضينا في أشوايا يعني مدة يومان. في هذه المدة تعلمت كيف أتعامل مع فريق وكيف أتعاون معه. تعلمت حماسنا واليوم. تعلمت كيف أتسلق الجبال باستخدام الحبال. طبعا كنا نتسلق الجبل كفريق واحد. الكثير من التسلق. غادرنا أشوايا على متن سفينة روح البحر. طبعا هذه السفينة الضخمة أشبه بتايتانيك، فيها أحدث وسائل الراحة، فيها صالة رياضية، فيها مطعم، فيها قاعات عرض، فيها سخانات مياه أيضا. السفر بحرا كان لمدة يومان أيضا. التحدي الأصعب الذي واجهته في الرحلة هو عبور ممر دريك أو The Drake Passage. ممر دريك هذا معروف بأمواجه الشديدة والعنيفة، فالموجة الواحدة قد تصل لعشرات الأمتار. فحالة الغرفة في السفينة كانت حالة درامية. الدواليب تنفتح وتنغلق، الأثاث يسقط والسفينة تميل. أصبت ووالدي بدوار بحر شديد أقعدنا طول مدة العبور، ولكن الحمد لله. هذه كانت محطتنا الأولى، جزيرة البطاريق، أول محطة لنا في أنتاركتيكا. هذه عظام حيتان، بعض المناظر. طبعا كل أنشطتنا هناك كانت تتطلب معرفة باستخدام الحبال، وكانت تتطلب مهارة عالية في تسلق الجبال. فهنا بالضبط طبقت ما تعلمته في أشوايا عن استخدام الحبال. طبعا هذه هي الأنشطة، ناهيكم عن المحاضرات والدورات التي كان يقدمها البروفيسور بنفسه على متن السفينة عن مشكلة تغير المناخ التي هي الهدف الأساسي من هذه الرحلة. أروع أو أحلى نشاط قمت به في أنتاركتيكا كان التخييم على الثلج، التخييم على بساط أبيض من الثلج. كان هذا نشاط اختياري لا إجباري، ولكن من ذا الذي سيفوت مثل هذه الفرصة؟ نصبنا الخيم أولا، ثم قمنا بعمل حاجز. طبعا هذا الحاجز الغرض منه كان سد الرياح ومنع الحيوانات. طبعا لا توجد حيوانات سواء فقمات وبطاريق، لمنع البطاريق والفقمات من مداهمتنا أثناء النوم. طبعا ساعدت على قدر استطاعتي. من المعلوم جدا أن الحرارة في الليل تنخفض انخفاضا ملحوظا. إذن كيف نمنا؟ وليالي الأنتاركتيك باردة جدا. في الصباح قد تصل الحرارة إلى -10 أو -5، أما في الليل إلى -15 -20 وهكذا. فتغطينا بغطاءين. الغطاء الأول كان لغرض التدفئة، والغطاء الثاني كان لعزل المطر والثلج كي لا نتجمد. وأحب أن أذكر أيضا شيء، أبي تلك الليلة لم ينم. حين سألته عن السبب قال لي: كنت خائفا من أن تهاجمك البطاريق والفقمات. فقلت له: أبي هل أنا أم البرد؟ أشك أنه كان يتجمد. المبيت على الثلج كان أشبه بالحلم الأبيض، فأنت لا تستيقظ على أصوات طائرات ولا سيارات، بل تستيقظ على أصوات انهيارات لتكون أمام هذه اللوحة الكونية الرائعة. فسبحانك ربي. هذه بعض المناظر الخلابة في القارة الجنوبية، الحياة البرية. طبعا كل هذه المناظر الرائعة التي نشاهدها اليوم ربما تختفي غدا إن بقيت مشكلة تغير المناخ على حالها. أتوقع أن كل من في القاعة اليوم يقر بأن مشكلة تغير المناخ حقيقة، ونحن نشهد الآن ارتفاع معدلات ثاني أكسيد الكربون، وبالتالي ذوبان الغطاء الجليدي في القطب الجنوبي وبالتالي ارتفاع مستوى المياه. طبعا الضحية هي أنتاركتيكا، لذا وجب علينا التحرك. من المعارف أيضا التي اكتسبتها ومن الخبرات التي اكتسبتها هناك تعلم كيفية البقاء على قيد الحياة. هذه المؤسسة في الواقع أن طاقمهم كامل. أريد أن أذكر قصة هذا الشاب. إن هذا الفتى يجسد كلمة الإرادة بمعنى الكلمة، لأن إعاقته لم تمنعه من الذهاب وتحقيق حلمه. بعض المهارات في البقاء على قيد الحياة، هذه للأسف الشديد كانت محطتنا الأخيرة. تسلقنا جبلا، أقول جبل مرتفع ولكن متوسط الارتفاع. تسلقنا الجبل ثم مررنا عند هذه الصدوع. طبعا الصدوع جدا خطيرة، لذلك وجب على الفريق مساعدتنا والتأكد أيضا من سلامة الصدع. هذه كانت طريقتهم في التأكد أن الأرض متماسكة. وأخيرا كنا 80 فردا من 20 دولة مختلفة، وكنت أنا أصغر إماراتية أو من الشرق الأوسط تحتضن علم بلادها في أبعد نقطة على الأرض. شكرا. طبعا تعرفت على أناس من ثقافات مختلفة وطورت من شخصيتي وزادت ثقتي بنفسي أكثر وأكثر. وفي النهاية يعني لي الشرف بأن أختم بمقولة والدي محمد بن راشد: لا مكان لكلمة مستحيل في قاموس القيادة، ومهما كانت الصعوبات كبيرة فإن العزيمة والإصرار والإيمان كفيلة بالتغلب عليها. وكما يقال باللغة الإنجليزية: nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible. Thank you.
Okay. So now to the very, very exciting part of this morning. Do you guys have lots of questions for the speakers? Do you want to ask them questions? Do you want to talk to them? Okay. So I'd like to invite all the speakers back to the stage, please. Can you give them one more round of applause? Okay, so while we're getting seated, if you have any questions, please raise your hands. We have microphones that we will get to you, and you can ask your questions to the speakers. Okay. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for being here. So do we have a question from the guests, or shall I ask my first question? Do we have a question here? Raise your hands if you'd like to ask a question. Okay, there are a couple of questions in the back there. تفضل. Can you ask the question again? Sorry. Okay, so the question from one of the students here is to Cameron, and the question is, how did you save the camels?
Is this working?
Yes,
Okay.
it's working.
Well, I do trips into the desert with my schoolmates, and I also post the form on my website where you guys can sign up. We do a huge trip into the desert and we pick up litter in various areas. Forgot to mention that one. And we do we have a whole day of just picking up litter and barbecuing. And last time we went in, we only covered a small area, and we filled about 2 trailers full of litter. And I do talks to schools. I try and get the message out as much as possible.
Do we have another question? Yes. Can you stand up when you're asking the questions so that we can see you?
Hi, this is for Dubai. I was wondering, how long did it take for you to write the whole script?
How long?
The beginning. How long did it take for you to write the whole script?
Actually, the script turned into a book, so the whole process took me around 2 years to completely finish.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And how challenging was that? How did you manage to balance between school, between having to be in class and writing your script?
Honestly, I didn't.
So what happened?
I have multiple stories because I think, over the course of 2 years, when you write every single day in class, a lot of things happen. But I think I definitely, it's understanding, when you understand that two important things are in your life, both education and making your dream a reality. Somewhere along the way you balance. I mean, I wish I had a certain formula or a certain schedule I stuck to. But I think, especially with writing, it's not the kind of thing you can force yourself to do. Like, you can't say, oh, I'm going to dedicate 2 hours a day, or, writing just comes whenever you feel like writing. And so sometimes I felt like writing during math. Sometimes I felt writing, at home. So as I said, I think the creative process isn't something you time, but it definitely took me 2 years to completely finish.
Great. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Do we have another question? Okay.
For you again.
Can you raise your voice just a little bit and get your mic closer?
I read your book, and I have it at the house. Well, I didn't bring it because I had a parrot that ate the book from the outside. But when you wrote the book, what made you drive into the fantasy that you've been through? Like, the book was full of fantasies, and I loved that. What made you think of that?
First of all, thank you so much. I appreciate that you read it. I think I see myself as a very creative person, and I'm not necessarily a fan of reality. And that is why I think fantasy was my getaway. Fantasy, it's limitless. Your imagination is limitless. And I think the experience, writing it more than publishing it was, my way of, escaping things, or my way of escaping educational systems. And I think it's because in fantasy there are no rules and you set your own rules. There aren't certain things you abide to. That is why I directed myself towards fantasy, because you definitely feel liberated.
Thank you. I have a question for everyone, actually, that I'd like to pose to all of our speakers. If you had, imagine with me this. If you were to step into a time machine and go back in time, but you still have all the knowledge, you still have the same brain that you have, and you were to step back a few years ago to the day you each started your dream, what would you do differently? Is there anything you would do differently, or will you still do everything the same way you did? And anyone can start answering the question. Would anyone like to take that step? Yes.
Still thinking.
Yes, go ahead, Abdul.
Hello. Okay. If I had to go back, I would probably change my types of bags so it would be more stronger and people could use it more.
Okay, so you would make your paper bags stronger and more people can use it. Okay, you can always start doing that now.
Yeah.
Anyone else? What would you do differently?
Okay. I wouldn't do anything differently. If I went back, that means I have to change a lot of things, and I like the way my life has gone right now. I wouldn't change anything. It's, in my opinion, gone perfect for me.
Okay, that's amazing. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, Hamda.
Yeah, everything was perfect, so I don't need to add more.
Okay. That's amazing. Faye?
I think there's one thing I would really like to change, and it's the internal conflict I had in my head. Whenever a teacher would tell me, I remember distinctively there was one thing, my chemistry teacher, I got a really bad grade in my chemistry final. I think partially was because I was writing the book during her explanation. But, I remember, I got so upset that I wrote on my final exam paper, I wrote 2021, and it's the year I planned to, win an Oscar. And, she asked me, she's like, what's 2021? And I told her, I was so angry already for my grade. I'm like, it's the year I'm going to win an Oscar. And she's like, we're solving pH and we're solving chemistry and your head is in Hollywood. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it is. And I remember, storming out of the class and I was so angry. I think the one thing I changed is not to let that kind of negativity get to me, because I feel I would have been so much more productive if I actually listened to who I am more than I listened to adults.
I think that's very important because many times when we have dreams, when we have hopes to do something, many people can come and put us down. Many people can tell us you cannot do this, or this is too big, or it's not the time to do it now. And I think it's very important to push all of that away and to stick to what we strongly believe in, to never basically give up on our dreams. Do we have any other questions? Yes. Who's next? Stand up, please. Okay.
Hi, this is for Hamda. I was wondering, since you're in the South Pole, I mean, wouldn't it still be cold if you had 2 blankets? Wouldn't it still be quite cold?
Basically تقول إن يوم كنت أنت في القطب الجنوبي حتى بالحافين ما كان الجو بعده وايد بارد؟
يوم أول شيء يعني نمنا ما حسينا لأن كان عندنا مثل warmers نحطها inside the gloves و inside the shoes. بس يوم قمت الصبح ايدي وريولي كلها كانت متجمدة ما قدرت أحركها. بس في الليل واحد نايم ما يحس.
So she's basically saying that at night when she's sleeping, you do not really feel it because before you go to sleep, you use warmers. You put warmers into the blanket. But she said that when she woke up in the morning, she literally felt her toes and her fingers frozen, that she could not move them. But during her sleep, she couldn't feel it. Next question. We have a question here and a question over there. Okay, تفضلي.
Hi, this is for Abdul Muqeet. Where are your workshops located and what do you do in them?
Abdul Muqeet.
Yeah. People invite me for my workshops. So in the workshops, I show them how to make a bag and I give a presentation like this. And if you would like to visit it, it's over there.
So right now he has a workshop right there. And as soon as we're done, he will show you how to do some of the things. But if you'd like him to come to your school or to come to a place, then you have to contact him. And you can talk to him later and to his parents, and you can arrange for that to happen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Question over here. When? Okay, they have the microphone.
This is for Hamda. How old were you when you went to the South Pole?
Now I'm 17 and when I went I was 16.
She was 16 years old. Yes. Question over here in the front. Mira?
To Dubai. I wanted to ask a question. I have a lot of dreams, but right now I have my school, and I have to, my marks are good, but I want them to be great. So I have some work to do with my school. How can I, between my school and between my work, how can I do this and do this between them? I want both of them to be perfect.
You definitely can do that. For instance, say you come back at 3 o'clock, okay? Do your homework first, because I feel like when you start doing something you love, you can't stop. For areas with homework, you can definitely know when to stop. So if I was you, I would definitely dedicate, let's say, 2 hours to homework or finish things in advance and then start doing what you love. For instance, for me, every Saturday I used to go to art class. And as you know, the next day it's a school night. So what I used to do was between my breaks, I used to study. On my way to the art class, I used to study. So it definitely takes a lot of effort. And I think if you take an hour from using Twitter or Instagram, you would definitely find the time to do what you love and get good grades.
Does anyone else have advice here about time management? Because I know that all of you here have to balance between school and your passions. Can you tell us a little bit more about how do you do that? How do you balance? Cameron, I know that you swim, so tell us a little bit about that.
It's very hard. I wake up every day at about 4:30. I do training for 2 hours, end at 7:30, go to school, do 6 hours, and about 2:30 I end. I get home, I do, I think, 2 hours of, I try to do 2 hours of homework. I use the rest of my time before I go to training to work on my campaign. My dad normally actually helps me a lot, my parents do, because I'm not very good at making websites, so they always update the website and all that. And then I go to training, do 2 hours, get home, have a sleep, and that's pretty much my day, but repeated every other day.
So I guess that the key thing that we have to take from here is balance your schedule. Have a schedule that you basically do, but at the same time, make sure that you have someone to support you. They all have people who support them, their parents, their family, their friends, their school teachers. So find that one person who can support you and who can help you through tough times, and hopefully through that you'll be able to achieve your dreams. We have time for one last question, but you can all talk to the speakers as soon as we are done. So one last question, and then we'll move to the next part of today.
This question is to Cameron.
Okay, we'll take two. No worries, we'll take two questions. Go ahead, تفضلي.
Cameron, why did you look for camels because you like them?
I'm sorry.
Why camels? Is it because you like them?
No, I love all animals. It's when I read the article in the newspaper about camels dying, and I just thought that's just really cruel, so I decided to take that on as my topic, but I don't have a specific favorite. I love all animals. In essay, I got brought up with animals. My parents got brought up with animals. We're just a very loving family when it comes to animals. But yeah, I chose camels because that was the real reasons, because I wanted to, if I could do a campaign about saving all animals, I would, but it's very, very hard. So I'm going to start working on camels right now, and then I'll start expanding.
I asked that question because I also like animals.
Oh.
Maybe you guys can work together and collaborate on helping save the camels.
I'm cool with that.
The last question we have here.
This is for Adeeb. How long did it take you to do the medical apparatus, the leg?
You mean the upgrading, like adding the medical wax? Do you mean by that?
How long did it take you to make it?
It took me about, I think about 2 months something, 2 months.
Okay,
It wasn't that hard. We just had to figure out the areas where, some areas you cannot put the wax on because it'll freeze. Some areas you can. Those areas we use different type of materials.
That's amazing. So it took him about 2 months to create the apparatus. So we will have to end the questions and answers now, but we have about a break of 5 minutes where we will walk to the next room. There's some snacks for you to have, and you can talk to all the speakers, ask them all the questions you have, and then we will start the workshop. So if you can all follow my colleague here, Maryam, she just raised her hand over here, and Dina over there. If you can follow them to the next room and ask all of the rest of the questions you have and join us for some snacks. Thank you so much. Thanks.